Okay, continuing right along, Greg Biffle. He drives the number 16, 3M Ford for Roush Fenway Racing. He comes into Pocono 11th in points, but coming off a very, very solid performance at the Brickyard 400. Greg, how are you going to continue that momentum here this weekend at Pocono?
Well, we elected to bring the same car here as we ran it at Indy. Normally we don't do that these days, but I think Irwin felt like he wanted to bring that car here. I was okay with that. And the car's running good. We unfortunately had an incident on lap 2 of the racetrack. We hit a piece of metal that was off another race car. Sway bar arm had broken and was laying on the racetrack, so it wiped out the splitter and, bent the tube on the right front and took the exhaust pipes out and all that. So we only got one lap of practice and went into qualifying trim, repaired all the stuff, and the car was decent in qualifying trim, so we're looking forward to tomorrow to get some race trim practice in and see how the car's running. But the one lap of race trim put us 10th on the board, so we thought that was pretty respectable.
Okay, questions for Greg Biffle? If you have one, we'll start right here. Question right over here. If we could get him the mic, please. Thank you.
Dan Gelson, the Associated Press. Greg, in your Sports Illustrated Roundtable interview, you suggested they could do some work here at Pocono. And I'm wondering specifically what you might like to see done here to improve the safety of the track.
Well, I think that the super stretch or, the stretch between turn 1 and the tunnel has always kind of been an issue. I think we've seen on TV, from races a while ago and as recent as the last race here 5 weeks ago that, that large area of grass down off the racetrack can present problems, from these cars are really, really hard to control at 200 in the grass. It's a challenge. And, whether it's more pavement like the restrictor plate racetracks did when they had problems, Talladega and Daytona both had issues like that, and they paved that whole area. And the cars don't get upside down and flip through that grass there anymore. They spin around and get slowed down, and a lot of times put tires on and keep going, not like nothing happened. So, that could be done, or there could be a wall, jersey barriers or something to prevent us from getting down in there. Similar like you have on the front stretch, right? You got a wall on the inside and the outside, all the way down the front stretch. So, there are some things that can be done. Certainly those cost money, and, we understand it's pretty tough economic times right now.
Question across the way here, Steve. Go ahead.
Steve Richards with PRN. Greg, can you tell us what your thoughts and feelings when you heard about Jack's plane crash, and can you bring us up to date on any information that you might know?
Well, I mean, it was kind of I was to say it was kind of funny how it happened or how I heard about it, but it really isn't. None of it is. But it's ironic because my brother had left that afternoon at 6 o'clock. He had a 6 o'clock flight. And my phone happened. I was in my office in my house doing, checking email and doing some things at the end of the day. When I got home, I went in there and I left my phone laying in there, so I didn't have my telephone. And my cell phone and Nicole's phone rang. We were sitting on the couch watching TV. And she was talking to whoever, and bright-eyed, and I thought that she said Jeff's plane crashed. That's my brother. He's on a commercial flight from Charlotte to Portland. And I was like, I just, couldn't believe what she just said. And then she said, yeah, it's confirmed it was his airplane. And that was the second thing she said. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even, my thoughts weren't even, I didn't even know what I was thinking. And then she said, yeah, it's his tail number, November 6 JR. And so then I'm like, and then I realized that she said Jack, not Jeff. And I was just as devastated, that come to find out it wasn't my brother, it was Jack, and this all takes place in about 15 seconds, And so the first reports were that he crashed on arrival. And so that's much worse than crashing on landing. None of it's good, but if you crash off the airport a mile away, you got big problems. And And so that was the initial report that we got, and then news started coming in, that he's okay, he's been taken to the hospital, and so on. So I mean, I'm pacing back and forth. I just couldn't hardly stand it, but immediately called Matt and Carl to see if they had heard or knew anything about it. Matt didn't, and I filled him in, and then Carl had a little more information than I had, so. He had actually talked to somebody that was on the ground there, had called him, because Carl usually goes to that show. So it was, we're thankful that he was kind of out of the woods now, and we know that he's got, some surgeries to go through probably, and, it's going to be a little bit of road to recovery, but we know he's going to be all right and back at it.
Next question. Pete's got one right here behind you there.
Peachnats, Philadelphia Inquirer. Greg, can you talk about the new generation Nationwide Series car, what your experiences have been?
Well, man, I cannot elaborate a bunch on that. I did drive it, it seems like 2 years ago almost, but maybe early last year at Iowa. I went there for a test, and I drove what would be the very, very first version of the car at that racetrack, and it drove decent. I mean, what could be expected of it at that point? It was a little bunch of R&D, and it's evolved a lot since then. And I haven't driven it or really been very up close to it. The only time we've had it at the track is Daytona, and the Nationwide shops over in Mooresville, and we're in Concord. So I really haven't been close to them, and then seen them up close or driven them again. But they look pretty cool, I can tell you that. Which is good. I mean, that's good for our sport, good for our fans. We want something that looks good, and the decal packages and the things. I think the cars look really good, and I think that people are excited about that. Even our sport, guys in our sport are excited about it. So I think that's one good aspect of it.
Question right over here. Go ahead, sir.
Mike Niklowski, Fox 43. Greg, going back to Jack's situation, obviously this isn't the first time NASCAR is dealing with a plane crash. Do you think this kind of sends shockwaves through the garage area, maybe second-guessing doing the double duty, or is it guys are going to race just to race?
Yeah, I mean, things, guys are going to race just to race. I think we all have to travel. We all have to, know what we go through. We all take, as many precautions as possible. The planes are much safer today than when we had the last tragic plane crash in the sport. Just like our race cars are almost. You can almost compare it to that because the planes have, proximity ground warning systems and lots of things. So our aircrafts are a lot safer. But, I think this is you look at it, I think it's an isolated deal, and, it was, I think the situation that arised, and things can happen in a hurry. I'm a pilot, and things can happen in a hurry.
Other questions for Greg? Greg, we appreciate your time, and good luck this weekend. Thank you.